I bet this is something that you've heard a lot, a home buyer waiving appraisal. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or an investor, waiving an appraisal is super important in today's market. I also want to go over the pros and cons. That's what you're going to get, what it really means when a home buyer waives appraisal. I'm Jonathan Green of Streamline Properties on Market, brokered by eXp Realty. I've got the answers for you. So there's a lot of things that go into waiving appraisal. In general, I don't recommend it for home buyers. Obviously, in this crazy market, there are some times when you can do it. I'm going to explain to you when you should do it if you're comfortable with it. I'm also going to explain the way that it looks on the seller side and all the parameters of actually doing it. So let's start with a full appraisal waiver. We'll even back up. If you're getting a mortgage on a property, which is what this is applicable to, your mortgage company is going to do an appraisal. The appraisal is going to value the property based on local neighborhood comps in a recent time frame that look, feel the same as the house that you're buying. It's a formulaic approach. There are some ways you can challenge it if they miss something, but generally they're just going to be plugging in numbers, adding things if you have a garage, taking things away if you don't have central air, taking things away meaning money from the price. So say you get, you're buying a house for $500,000 and you do not waive appraisal. If the appraisers come in and that value is appraised at $480,000, there's $20,000 left that needs to be covered. So your mortgage company, if they get an appraisal at 480 and you paid 500 for the house, they're only going to fund a total of 480 on the mortgage. So there are only three things that can happen when a house underappraises, and then I'm going to go into what it means to waive this. One, the buyer can bring that extra money to cash and closing. In our example, that's $20,000. They would just bring that to closing and the mortgage would be at 480. The seller can reduce their price to 480 and eliminate that. That doesn't happen as much in a hot market because there's usually backup offers and other options for them to go to. Or the buyer and seller, this is the most preferable one, but not always available in a super hot market. The buyer and the seller will agree to meet in the middle. So in our example, the price would come down to 490. The buyer would bring an extra 10,000 to closing, and that would end it. What's happened in the psychotic nature of the market is people have begun to waive the appraisal. That means you must have a whole boatload of cash just in case. So let's use our example again. Say that you have a contract on a house for $500,000. You're not sure that it's going to appraise. The values look in the 450 range. So you waive appraisal so you can get it, which means you're waiving your right to use the appraisal against the sales price, meaning if it underappraises and comes in under the value that you paid, you have to bring all that money that's in between the difference to cash at closing. So let's use our $500,000 example, and you've waived full appraisal and you get a $450,000 appraisal. You waived appraisal in the contract, you've agreed to it, so you need to bring $50,000 to closing in cash. That's the downside. Obviously, a real estate agent is supposed to show you what the probable comps are, so you have an idea if you're waiving what you could be looking at, but you never know with appraisers. They could be from out of the area. You always can challenge, but we try to trust that the appraisal is going to come in around that. It's great when it comes in at or above. You don't get more money if it appraises above, but that's what waiving appraisal is. It's giving up your right to use the appraisal as a way to adjust the price. You're still getting an appraisal. The mortgage company is not just letting you get a property without appraising it. Let me give you a couple other scenarios. So as we got, waiving appraisal is a full boat. You're going to waive the whole thing. So now what we've done is we've started to apply floors and ceilings. Appraisal floors and ceilings mean that you're willing to waive a certain amount. So we use certain language for that. And the way that we ask this of you if you're a home buyer is, how much extra money do you have to kick in ahead of your down payment, closing costs, and inspections? What extra money would you be willing to spend in case it doesn't appraise at the price we're gonna offer? So if you say $10,000 and we're going with our example at $500,000, I know this is complicated. Watch it again if it's a little bit crazy. So it's $500,000. You have 10,000 extra that you want to toss into the pot just in case. So your language is going to say, if the property appraises between 490,000 and 500,000, which is your offer price, buyer is willing to waive appraisal and cover the cost of the difference there. If the property appraises at 489,000 or below, the buyer is willing to give $10,000 in cash at closing above the appraised price. This is very important. That means if it appraises at 470, you're still willing to give that $10,000, but it only brings you to 480. So they're going to have to come down to 480, which protects you. And then of course, you're going to say if the property appraises at 500,000 or above, transaction will move on as is. I'm telling you it's complicated. Rewind this whole thing and watch it again. This is very, very important. If you have a real estate agent who's encouraging you to waive appraisal, you need to understand exactly what you're doing. If you waive appraisal in full and you come in on the high end, 100,000 below, you are going to need to bring 100,000 to closing, and you're not getting out of the contract without losing your deposit. This is why it's so important. So in general, at Streamline Properties on Market, we don't recommend you waive appraisal. Is it harder to win if you don't? Yep, but it also doesn't put you in jeopardy. If we look at the value and we think the value is extremely strong, we're going to show you those values and comparables so you feel comfortable if you're going up ahead. The way that this gets really tricky is houses that are priced extremely low. So if you have a house that's priced at $399, but it's really worth 500 based on the comps, somebody bidding 500 might think they're super overreaching. But, and I'm going to put this video up here, it's about, don't worry about the list price, worry about the value. You have to know, and you have to have an agent who knows so they can guide you and be an advisor to say, look, I know it's $399, but the real value and appraised value is like at least 500. So bidding 500, you're not overbidding. It's just underpriced. Very, very important to note. So that is what it means when a home buyer waives appraisal. For the seller side in a hot market, again, they're usually going to have backups. So that's why they're looking for these appraisal waivers. Very important for you as a home buyer to know exactly what you're getting into. If you're looking for a home in the state of New Jersey or in Philadelphia, some parts of New York or near Elko, Nevada, contact us at Streamline Properties on Market, brokered by eXp Realty. We have agents in all of those areas. Happy to help you out with this level of expert advice. Have a great day.